Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing fine. Welcome back to another session. Today we are going to discuss chapter 9 from grade 6 CBSE, where the name of the chapter is Desert Animals, and we are going to get to know more about the life of desert animals, how they survive in such circumstances, in such a harsh atmosphere, how do they adapt themselves to the given circumstances and situation, because desert is a place where water availability is in less quantity, or there's scarcity of water. So I think it's a very good chapter to learn from, because given the circumstances, how different animals use different methods to adjust with the harsh life is what we can also learn something for our existence. So chaliye, let's get started. Deserts are the driest places on earth and sometimes go for months or even years without rain. But even the desert animals cannot survive without water or for long periods in the scorching sun. Scorching means very hot. So they have had to find different ways to coping up with harsh conditions. For example, Gerbils spend the hottest part of the day in cool underground burrows. So can you see, this is an animal that's looked like a mouse, but his hind legs are quite long. Not really a mouse, but kind of like mouse kind of a creature. So we'll get into the details later. As of now, I'm trying to help you with the word meanings. Burrows basically means, you can say it's like a hole or like a tunnel. And strange insects called Darkling Beetles are experts at catching drops of moisture on their legs and lifting them into the air until the drops trickle down into their mouth. Not all deserts are endless seas of rolling sand dunes. Here, the heaps, you can see these are the sand dunes. Some are rocky or pebbly. Pebbly means stones are there, or dotted with small bushes, while others are sprinkled with colorful flowers during the spring. Now here, the narrator is trying to explain us about the condition of desert. So desert is a place where we've got the availability of water is very less, and for long, maybe for months together, for years sometimes, we don't have rain there. So it's not very certain as to when we could expect the rainfall. So being the driest place on earth, there are many animals who've adapted themselves to live in such an environment. Though it's very difficult for them to survive without water for long, especially when we have those hot, sunny days during the summer months. But they've come up with their own plans. They have their own ways to beat the heat, to fight against the harsh conditions of the atmosphere. So first we are going to talk about Gerbils. So Gerbils are those desert animals that look like rats, with small differences related to their legs. So what do they do in order to beat the heat during the hot days? They kind of go underground. They have their own tunnels, and it's quite cool in those burrows. Talk about the Darkling Beetles, like the insect. It's like an insect. So I'm going to write insect. What it does, it's magical. It just has that talent, that miracle with which it drags a drop of water from its legs, right? If this is a leg of the insect, it gets that water, it puts it on its legs, then lifts it up in the air like this until that drop finally falls into its mouth. It looks like we are having the advertisement of Mazda, Coke, Pepsi, right? So all the deserts, they are not the same, as in they do not have these hills of sand. Each of the desert has its own characteristic, something special. Some of the deserts might be rockies or maybe have pebbles. Some of them might have small bushes scattered here and there. Few might even have some very colorful flowers that come up during the spring season. There are more than 2,300 different kinds of snakes around the world, ranging from just 15 centimeter long to more than 11 meters. Most snakes are quite harmless, but there are a few that are so poisonous. They can kill a human being with just one bite. Most snakes lay eggs, but there are many which give birth to their young ones. In the dry, rocky deserts of America lives a rather evil-looking snake with a very bad reputation image. It's frightening, scary. Rattle can be heard. Rattle means that, sound that it makes as far as 30 meters away. And it can strike with lightning speed. Now, evil is something that's, you can say, wicked or bad. Sorry, it's more like bad. So here the narrator is trying to tell us that there are many kinds of snakes, and I'm sure you might have seen a lot of them on the internet. So as of now, we know that there are about 2,300 different kinds of snakes around the world in different sizes, the smallest being just 15 centimeters long. And if I talk about the others, they are up to 11 meters. So most of the snakes are not, are not poisonous, as in they're harmless, but few of them are so poisonous that their one bite is enough to kill anyone. But if I talk about how they give birth to their young ones, the snakes generally lay eggs. They give, they lay eggs to reproduce. But there are many who give birth to young ones, like how birth is given to a young one, directly a baby is born without a shell, what happens in human beings or other animals. So there's a typical kind of snake that you find, a special kind one that you find in American deserts, which are dry, rocky in nature. So there lives a bad snake, right? And it has a very bad reputation, a very bad image, because, one can hear its sharp sound even from a distance of 30 meters. And one strike is enough to do the job. And it strikes very fast, like you won't even come to know where would it come from and attack you. It's that quick, and I'll say it's quick as the lightning speed, the speed of the light. But the rattlesnake, or rattle, as it's sometimes called, prefers to avoid people if it possibly can. It holds its tail upright and rattles the end whenever it is disturbed, in the hope that the intruder will go away. Intruder means a person who's come uninvited. However, if its warnings are ignored, it feels threatened. It will coil ready to bite. Like this. But the rattler itself cannot hear the noise its own tail makes. Like most snakes, it hears things through the vibrations in the ground. If a person walks nearby, the snake can feel the movement. But if the same person were to shout, it would not hear a thing. Rattlesnakes are very common and widespread animals living right across American continent from Canada to Argentina. So coil means you can say to make a loop. Rattlesnakes, oh, I was here. They feed on a variety of prey including mice, voles. Now voles, they are animals that are very, very small, plant eating rodents, small animals, right? Rats, chipmunks. Chipmunks is, you can say, a kind of a squirrel. S-Q-I, right? They kind of have dark, and you can see one here, alternate bands of light and dark colors, and many other small animals. Rattlesnakes kill their prey with venom. That's the poisonous toxin that they have. Like all snakes, they swallow the unfortunate animal whole. Few snakes have to eat more than once a week, and some, such as larger pythons, can survive for a year or more without eating. Now here they're talking about the rattler or the rattlesnake, a special kind of snake. So it's kind of a snake that says, do not disturb. That is its banner, its slogan. It decides not to, get involved with people unless and until it's not poked. So it avoids people as much as it can. And, if you continue to disturb it and it feels disturbed, so it holds up its tail up in the air, gives a sharp sound, like if this is its snake, this is its tail, it's like this, sharp. It holds up its tail upright and, it gives a sound warning to the person, to the intruder, that go away. And still if the person doesn't get the warning up clear, if the warning is not heard or not paid attention to, the animal, any animal, this is a basic instinct that it feels threatened, it feels scared that maybe the other being is going to come up and attack me. So if the repeated warnings are ignored, it will turn around and bite you once it coils itself. It makes a coil of its body like this, and then it attacks. So the strange thing is that it cannot hear the sound that its own tail makes. Now, how do snakes hear the voices? They don't hear it, upright like we humans do. They hear through the waves that are, produced on the ground. You make the movement, the ground vibrates, and there you go. So it means it can feel the vibrations clearly. However, how loud you shout standing near to the snake, it won't get affected. So that's why we always tell that, whenever you're near a snake, standing nearby, do not run, just so that, it doesn't feel threatened. I know everybody has to run to save their life. So snakes can feel the movement of a walking person, but cannot hear the voice. So rattlesnakes are commonly found across American continent all the way from Canada to Argentina. And what all they eat? They eat those small animals like, mice, small plant-eating rodents, chipmunks, which is squirrels, and many other small animals. How do they get their prey? They release a toxin, poisonous substance to kill its prey. And they eat down the animal completely. So this is like their habits of eating vary from one animal to other animals. Some snakes, they can eat more than once a week, while their larger snakes like pythons, they can do without eating for a year or more. Mongooses like to hunt together, but they always keep an outlook for dangerous predators nearby. Predator is an animal who comes to attack, right? An animal that's looking for a prey. poking their noses into holes, putting their noses into the holes, overturning rocks with their paws, and scratching the ground with their sharp claws. Banded mongoose are very amusing, means interesting. Okay, sorry. Interesting animals to watch. A common sight in many parts of Africa, they travel in groups of about 20 to forage for beetle. Now, beetle, as I told you, they're kind of insects, and forage means in search of food. Millipedes, so it's also a kind of special kind of an animal which you find like earthworms and others. So I'll write it, they're more like earthworms and other creatures. So now here we've been told that mongoose, we've got another special variety here. You can see the pic of mongoose. So they are a special kind of, we've got a special variety of animals here who like to hunt together. They go and look for their food together in groups. And they always keep a place from where they can, you know, watch their predators whom they probably might attack, or those animals might attack them. So it's very interesting to watch these banded mongoose who are like, who walk in a group, and they like to poke their nose, put their nose into a hole in order to save themselves. You know, they overturn the rocks like kids do. And of course, they often use their paws, like this, how it's holding the stick. They use their paws, their claws, and they often scratch the ground with their sharp claws, like kids would do, a toddler would do. So it's very common to view them traveling in groups of about 20 to hunt, to look for food. May it be beetles, which is here, may it be millipedes, which is here, like earthworm, or other small creatures. They like to hunt together, keeping in touch whenever they go out of sight behind rocks or bushes by twittering. It's the sound that they create, and calling. Always on the lookout for danger. Hawks, eagles, and large snakes. They warn one another with special alarm call if they spot anything suspicious. Now we know about this special interesting creature who acts more like a kid. So you might have heard a lot of mongoose and snake stories. Well, if not, we are going to read one in the next chapter. So they move in groups in search for their food, but whenever they travel from one place to another, they're not very visible. Like you can see them, they're hiding in a group. So what they do, they move behind the bushes or the rocks. Whenever they feel that there's some danger, they make some extra sounds to make the other mongoose aware. So they just take extra care to keep in touch, to stay in a place and watch the animals so that they're not being eaten up. Especially dangerous animals like hawks, the birds that just come up, pick them up and leave. Eagles, even large snakes. It's a common phenomenon. We see them fight with the snakes. So they want one another, special signs, special signals. We call them how they alert each other. So mongoose are famous for being able to kill snakes without getting hurt themselves. Their reactions are so fast that they can dodge each time the snake strikes. Strikes means attacks. And dodge means you just move quickly to avoid the enemy. They continually make a nuisance. Nuisance is like they're very annoying at times to themselves until after a while, when the snake gets tired, they quickly dive in for the kill. So mongoose, they're known for their ability to kill snakes, as you guys can see. So I would put it this way, they make the snake to dance, and once it gets exhausted, they just get hold of it and get rid of it. So they don't even get hurt while doing so. They're very fast in their actions and they move quickly from one place to another. It's like a mosquito who's attacking you over and over again, sucking your blood. The minute you hit it, it's like you're hitting yourself. So that is how quick they are, very fast, and they can move quickly after attacking the snake. They continuously keep on annoying the snake with their attacks from left, right, here, there, until it gets tired and gets killed. All the female mongoose have their kitten at about the same time. So that means they breed, they reproduce at the same time. They are raised by the whole group in a den, in kind of a hole, made inside an old termite mound. Mound is a heap, you can see. Okay? Or hollow log, wood. When most of the adults are out looking for food, one or two males stay behind to stand guard until the others return for the night. So it's very interesting to know that whenever the mongoose reproduce, the female mongoose, there's a particular season in which they reproduce. So they all give birth to the babies at the same times. The babies, they are taken care of by the whole group rather than the individual mother. They're raised by the whole group. And, when the mother goes out or the father goes out somewhere, we have people taking care of the mongoose. The other mongoose take care of their kids, not the people. So means looking after the babies is not just a responsibility of one, rather the whole group takes the onus. And they make a place for themselves to hide, to live. It's like a den to them, which is deep inside the earth. Sometimes, it's in the house, which is old and which is, being attacked by the termite. Termite are very small insects. When, might have seen the wooden part of your house being eaten up by the insects. So sometimes they kind of occupy the place that's an old, uninhabited place or a hollow log, hollow wood. Like this is like the trunk of the tree, which is hollow. There's nothing inside. So most of the adults, when they're out to look for the food, one or two males generally stay back to guard and take care of the younger ones till the others return. Another animal which lives in the desert is the camel. Camels were first domesticated by people many thousand years ago. Domesticated, you can say tamed. In the wild, camels usually live in small groups of up to 30 animals. Camels have long, shaggy winter coats. What is shaggy? It's like untidy hair. Nobody really combs their hair. Shaggy winter coats to keep warm and shorter, tidier coats in the summer to keep them warm. Tidier means clean. A thirsty camel can drink as much as 30 gallons of water. That's about 500 full glasses. It's quite a lot, guys. So, in just 10 minutes that too. Normally, by the way, just for your information, 1 gallon is approximately 4.5 liters. So you can imagine if they drink up to 30 gallons, how much would it be? Normally, however, it gets all the moisture it needs from desert plants and can survive for up to 10 months without drinking any water at all. So there's another desert animal whom we are supposed to read and study, and people tamed him long back I would say he was the first animal to be tamed by the humans, and he was domesticated, which means they used to keep him with them at their homes thousands and thousands of years ago. So camels have a very unique capacity that, like other desert animals have. Now they adapt themselves, they adjust their bodies to the atmosphere. So how do they adapt in the wild, in the open? You generally see them, they travel or they live in small groups of up to 30 animals. They have that long, untidy hair that's, to use as a coat to keep their body warm. So they do not wear any external clothing. It's just their own hair that is long, gets long during the winter. That's enough to keep their body warm. So if I talk about the summer season, that long coat, it falls away, gets shortened automatically during the summer season and keeps them cool. And if I talk about their drinking habits, you won't believe that camels can drink at a time almost 30 gallons, which is 500 glasses of water if they're thirsty, in just 10 minutes. That amount of water. And normally, how do they get moisture? They have to rely on the desert plants, and once they get enough water to drink, then they can survive without water up to 10 months. So there are two different kinds of camel, by the way. One known as dromedary, which has only a single hump like this one. The other is called Bactrian camel, which has two humps like here. The humps help the animal to survive in the desert by acting as storage containers. But they don't store water, as many people wrongly believe. They are full of fat. This fat nourishes the camel when food is scarce. Scarce means less. If they have nothing to eat for several days, their humps shrink as the fat is used up. There are many other ways in which camels have adapted to the desert life. Their mouths are so tough that even the sharp thorn cannot pierce through. Pierce means make a hole. So guys, now here they've busted a lot of our myths. What we used to consider that the hump is used to store water, we'll get to know what exactly it is used for. So first of all, there are two kinds of camels. One with a single hump, that's right here, that's called dromedary. And the second one is Bactrian, which has two humps. Now here, the hump is there to help the animal to survive without water in the desert. Rather, it also acts as a storage container. Not where exactly you put the water, where a lot of people believe that, we use the hump, camels use the hump to store water. That's absolutely incorrect. They use to store the food. They're full of fat, not exactly food, but fat. And it's like a transformed category of food. So this fat is made use by the camel in case the food is less in quantity. And once the fat is used up, the size of the hump eventually gets smaller because it's used up the food instead. And camels, they use many other ways, to adjust in the desert. Their mouths are so hard, so tough that even when they move around or happen to eat the cactus plant, the thorns can't really hurt them. So that's how you make your existence possible, you adapt to the environment, and I think we've got a lot to learn from these animals. So that's all for the day. In case you liked it, please like, share, subscribe. Thank you.